biggest learning you've had since becoming a business owner? The biggest learning?
Yeah, the biggest learning that I have is surround yourself with people that want what you want.
Good morning, Andrew. Good to you coming online. Thank you very much. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your business?
Sure. Good morning, Milton. My name's Andrew MacKinnon. I've got a creative agency called the Taboo Group. And Taboo was established in the year 2000, basically on the streets. I had a job as a door-to-door salesman in London from the age of 19 to 20. And I learned the art of how to get people in through the doors of small businesses and get them to have an experience and talk about it and return as a repeat customer. So when I was back from London at the age of 20, I started Taboo alongside two very important friends of mine, Sass and Richie, and we built this renegade youth marketing outfit and expanded to Sydney very soon beyond that. And years developing our credentials and building up what it was, our artillery, we became known as a youth marketing agency, and we would take over and run various brands from Virgin, NAB, CUB, Census, Cadbury Dairy Milk. And about 7 years ago, my brother James MacKinnon joined me. He had been working in the traditional creative industries at George Patterson Bates, Claymanger and Strawberry Frog in New York. And we called it the East Meets West. And he joined me as my business partner. And we have gone on to scale the business from there. And we established ourselves in the industry because I was more of the renegade type and had come from the streets. He had more of the, the classic advertising agency experience. We started to build the brand of Taboo became a contender for lead agency roles. And we've occupied those sorts of roles with Coopers, TAC, Telstra, Mecca, Champion, Nike, many, many more brands in Australia. We're based here in Melbourne. In our own building that we've created fit for the purpose. Got about 30 employees. The reason why people come to us is mainly these three core beliefs, and that is what a brand does is more important than what a brand says. People are a brand's most powerful medium and do well by doing good. And so what we try and do is get people to have a particular engagement or experience with the brand that's so true to the core and the essence of that brand, but also unexpected and meaningful, that at the end of it, they become compelled to drive the message and become heroes and advocates of the brand. So we really try and get other people to talk on the brand's behalf. We've just started a new business called Soon Future Studies in collaboration with Sarah Owen, who we believe is one of the best futurists around. And that's about detecting where culture is going in the future so that we can make sure that we are innovating and building brands and taking all the way through to market. So, yeah, we're having a good journey, Milton.
Fantastic. Has it always been positive like this, or have you had ups and downs, Andrew?
Milton, many, many years and many experiences of ups and downs. Yeah. I would say that the first 10 years of my business experience, everything that I did on the side of Taboo, because I've always been a little bit of a frustrated entrepreneur, everything I did outside of Taboo failed. And Taboo was the thing that stayed true and survived. But because I started the business at the age of 20, I have seriously learned the school of hard knocks. And that means learning by experience with a lack of wisdom. And feeling things out as I go. But I just know that when I have a failure or get a knock, that it's about the bounce, how fast I bounce out. I take the learnings, bounce out. And when I bounce, or when we bounce as individuals, I believe we actually can bounce out higher than what we went in with. So we can actually come out bigger, better and stronger.
Fantastic. I agree entirely. We learn by our failures, making mistakes. If we're not making mistakes, we're not trying hard enough.
Absolutely. And I'm pretty ambitious. Like I don't go into, I go into most projects thinking there's a really good chance I'll fail at this, but for some reason it I'm not fearful of that.
Good.
I'm excited by the slim opportunity that presents itself, and always the experience is part of the opportunity, and the experience to work with people to create something that's cool. It's never really, in my opinion, to have, tremendous commercial success, which might be my problem.
Okay. Who'd be your ideal client, Andrew?
Say that again, sorry.
Who would be your ideal client?
That's a great call. Our ideal client would be a brand that is true to its purpose, a brand that wants to do things differently, that is happy to take and challenge the status quo, take somewhat of a risk, but to pull out for maximum reward. So that means that one of the ways that we go about our work is to get people talking, and you can't get people talking if you're what people expect. So we sort of look at, what the industry is doing and what the consumer's expecting, and we find a way, obviously with strategic intent, to be able to cut across that. We've got a particular, we launch brands in culture, or by making sure that they're valuable and desirable within culture. And I would say a brand that is excited about being, leveraging this consumer segment and then growing from that by becoming topical.
Oh, excellent. What's the biggest challenge you're facing in your business right now?
I think the biggest challenge that we're facing right now is that staff costs have gone up, and that was driven largely from last year. And with staff costs, they don't go down again unless you actually start removing the headcount. Yep. Clients desire to pay more. They're not happy that the agency fees can't go up accordingly. If anything now, marketing and agency work is either going in-house or budgets are being removed, and I think that's due to the economic climate. So our margin is being squeezed from the front and the back. There's areas around, what the impact of AI may have on our industry. For the moment, I think it's an opportunity, but for the long term or medium to long term, there's definitely some concern. So the role of creative agencies is going to need to adapt accordingly.
What's one or two actions you've taken, because of the pandemic, and how are they working?
Great call. One or two actions because of the pandemic.
The reason I asked that question is that I think it sped up a lot of things that were going to happen anyway. And I think it made businesses look at changes more rapidly, and those that did well out of the pandemic were quick to pivot and change.
Yeah. I mean, the first one, which is pretty obvious, is that we started to allow people to work without being present in the office. And that's, again, very, very standard. But we've allowed people to work from afar, which we call a freestyle program. And they can have, depending on tenure, different amounts of period working from their beach house throughout the year. So it could be up to 6 weeks of the year. Someone could say, I want to work from Byron Bay or Noosa, and we will support that. The other thing I think has been about we had to be more specific about, because staff costs went up, we had to be much more efficient. We couldn't afford to have as many people as we did employ previously. So we've had to be more efficient and manage fewer people better. And so that comes from process. And making sure that we are still as effective. At the moment, it feels like, employees are keen to probably, look for pay increase opportunities. And also there's this new 4-day work week that's sweeping the world. And in a service business, that just simply means less productivity. But I think they're sort of starting to check out a little bit earlier in the daytime. There's no longer the big rush at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. They sort of start to dribble out, from 4 onwards. So it's just about keeping the productivity up with less hours.
Right. How do you measure productivity in your business?
We measure productivity. It's probably a little bit skew with how we measure productivity. Ultimately, we would measure it by outcome. But the way it probably goes in is through billable hours. So that would be a financial piece, looking at revenue divided by total billable hours and then getting a percentage per head. And we can sort of hope to see where that's coming from or which department and which human. And then, I guess from a monthly perspective, from where I sit, we just look at how revenue is tracking against target. And that obviously is in context to our cost base. So are we making a profit or are we making a loss? And how do we breathe that little bit of blue sky in between the revenue and the cost?
Do your team have individual productivity budgets?
Every team member has got a KPI, and we've probably overcooked the KPIs. I think everyone's got about 5 KPIs, and I want to really get it back to having 3. But they certainly do, and it's actually been my job to implement the KPI program. We start the year off with a vision, which is pretty sort of set in stone, and then we deliver a set of key company objectives, and those company objectives ladder down into key performance indicators and drivers. And we're really trying to make sure, check in quarterly on those and see how they're going throughout the year.
Right. What's the biggest learning you've had since becoming a business owner? The biggest learning?
Yeah, the biggest learning that I have is surround yourself with people that want what you want. And so that means finding people that are excited about the mission as I am, and the opportunity of the business as I am, because I've felt that when you can buy talent, but you can't buy hunger and passion. And so I look very carefully about who's hungry and passionate to get to join in the journey to that vision, and who feels entitled to be on that journey,
right.
And is really just sort of almost paying lip service to the vision, but is there, for their own sort of needs and purpose.
Right. What have been some of the biggest issues you've had to overcome on your journey in business?
Some of the biggest issues I've had to overcome. I think we're in a business that's expected to have a great foundation of talent. We're in the services business.
Sure.
So we've got to have, people of, high levels of experience in the industry, which commands, a great salary. Mm-hmm. However, what we have sold quite often is great projects. So we've got a fixed cost base with a variable revenue base.
Yeah.
It's not how we want to do it, because ideally in my industry, we set up a client with a strategy that lasts for 5 years and we help them execute and deliver upon that. Mm. However, the reality of that is that now projects are becoming a little bit more wavy. And so we've got to carry fixed costs with wavy revenue. And sometimes you're out there sort of trying to work out where the next, you don't want the gap to change over too much and too big.
And the obvious effect on cash flow too, of course. So
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What have you learned about yourself during this journey?
I think that notion that I mentioned earlier about the bounce, and that is that when, the going gets tough, I get going. And throughout the 22 years that this business has been around for, there has been some extremely hairy moments. And what brings me a lot of joy, and I celebrate these stories of near failure, is how quickly we bounced out of those situations and went to new heights post it. And I'm proud of my ability to not let something like this go under, and that we throw everything at it to make sure that we pull the nose up and we get out as quickly as we can.
Yeah. How do you find your inspiration each day to do what you do?
I find my inspiration a lot from being around people. So I have got a great team that all have hobbies, passions, and personal interests, as well as a great professional people. So I'm really well inspired by them. We've got our trend forecasting agency soon, which is always providing what we call signals from the fringe of culture. So we're sort of seeing and learning and observing and monitoring and tracking what people are doing at the precipice, like what's happening next. So there's a lot of inspiration that comes from CERN. And then, of course, just, I would say before desk research, I would say me going out and having experiences. So that could be anything from walking into the city and going and visiting retail shops and restaurants and speaking to local people, or going out to an event, to traveling. So I get it. We've just been, to Tokyo, very fortunately. But, I'm there with my camera out, taking notes and getting excited by what I'm seeing and finding.
Great. Do you have any favourite quotes or sayings that keep you focused each day?
Yeah, there's one. It's not so much to do with business, but it's be grateful for what you. If you're grateful for what you have, you'll never need more. And if you always need more, you'll never have enough. If you always want more, you'll never have enough. And I think that that gives me an air of just appreciation for where I am at the moment and what I have, rather than sort of always thinking that I'm chasing the, elusive pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Isn't that what drives an entrepreneur, though?
It certainly does, but at times we can always be slightly unsatisfied, and that's not very. It doesn't leave you with a place of appreciation. It leaves you with a place of being hungry for what's next.
Yep.
And so that's. Yeah, I think that have been, we're in a really fortunate country. I'm in a fortunate position. I've had a lot of great things go my way, and I just need to take heed at times and stop and go, I'm really lucky and fortunate. So everything else is a bonus. Right. The other thing I would say along those lines is enjoy the journey, not the destination. Yeah. So, we're on the journey now, and again, I've seen many people either fail for some, very sad reason, or haven't survived, and they probably didn't realise that they had many opportunities to celebrate the little wins along the way, and just to say how, awesome it is to be doing what we've been doing and enjoying my craft, and that I am grateful for.
What would you say to anyone thinking of going into business?
I would say have a dream. I would say keep monitor that dream. If you still have that dream within, a month or 2 months, write the dream down. Start to flesh it out on a piece of paper with pictures and words, and start to solidify and craft the dream like a hedge.
Yep.
I'd then start to talk about the dream with loved ones and friends and family, being careful not to be to have the dream, crushed, but I'd say start to sort of shop it around a little bit, socialise it at the barbecue. And then I'd say start to find out a way to dip your toe in and test to see if the dream actually has merit.
Yep.
And one of the reasons why I like to sort of test it is I heard of a saying where, I don't mind tossing the coin where heads I win and tails I don't lose too much. I protect the downside.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
When you go in, and be ready to know, be prepared to work really hard.
Yeah.
And work doesn't start at 8 and finish at 7. It goes beyond that. But at the back of your mind, know that the ultimate reward is remarkable, and it's a fantastic place to be if you can persevere, but it won't be easy. So be prepared that and be warned.
Good advice. If you started your business again, what would you do differently? You've had several businesses, so
yeah, I'm pretty clear on this one, because I would have probably have gone and got some experience in the industry. I didn't have any older brothers. I didn't have any idea how to get into the market or which market I was going to operate in. I just went based on the back of what I managed to get. Picked up the local street magazine in London and got suckered into a dream job, door-to-door salesman piece. And that was my way into the working world, and that was the way, that was where it all began. So I probably would have got some, bigger experience and learnt on someone else's watch, and crafted my, honed in on my experience and sharpened the pencil on my opportunity, and then I would have started.
Similar question. What's the best advice you give to your 18-year-old self?
Be the turtle, not the hare. Okay. So take your time. Don't try and race on this. Slow and steady will get there in the end. Be patient, and listen to those with experience. Surround myself with people that can provide me with wisdom and experience to ensure that I learn from their mistakes and minimise exposure.
Did you enjoy your school years?
Loved my school years. Yeah. We did a year at Timbertop, which is an outdoor school at the base of Mount Pulla. And it was filled with hiking and adventuring, skiing and fishing. And then loved playing sport down at Corio Road. Football, loved team sports, and obviously was ready to get out into the big wide world. And the academic side was challenging, but I really enjoyed it.
Great, excellent. My daughter went to Timbertop too, right. So yeah, know it well. Yeah. I'm a Geelong College. So.
I've got to go.
Okay, Andrew. Finally, what does the future look like, and what do you see as the main challenges moving forward in the industry, and for you personally?
Yeah, it's a great question. The future is exciting. We have just, we're only a year and a half in with our trend forecasting business soon. We are looking to build IP into that platform and sort of make it more scalable, which service businesses are not traditionally very easily scaled. We are using the outcomes and the findings of Soon to help us navigate the pathway for ourselves and our own industry as a creative agency. We are looking as a creative agency to sort of continue challenging creativity norms and helping brands connect, now near and far with their audiences. We believe that we can be one of the best independent creative agencies in Australia, and we want to continue on that quest. We've got a great CFO that has just joined, Johnny Isaacs, who's ex-Clemenger. He believes in us, so we continue to build a great team in pursuit of our vision. And the industry will have, as I said earlier, an interesting few twists and turns with AI. And I think it's going to be about how creative businesses like Taboo work with AI to enhance outcomes faster. So better outcomes more quickly. And if we can sort of come at it with that lens, it's going to be really interesting and lots of opportunity and very exciting. So yeah, that's I reckon what we're going for.
Right, excellent. And Andrew, are there any offers you'd like to include in the newsletter that goes out with this broadcast?
Any offers?
Any offers, yeah.
Yeah. If someone would like to get in touch with us, they can send an email to my organisation, and I will send them a complimentary insights report on the future cities that we did with Broadsheet. It's normally a $500 report. I'm happy to share that for people that would be interested to read it.
Sounds great. Excellent. Andrew, thank you so much for your time. That's been great. Really enjoyed talking to you. And thanks so much for the really good answers too. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Milton.
Take care.
You too.
Okay.